Welcome back to the shop. It is 40 degrees out. I got the heater going, which you may hear on this. Maybe I should turn it off a second. It's cold. We're rolling closer and closer to winter. Right now it's Thanksgiving week. I actually took the whole week off of work. And of course, at the very beginning, kids got sick, and then I got sick. Now the wife is sick, and we've basically burned up a whole week hiding inside, watching TV, playing games, and not really doing anything. My sinuses are not 100% yet. They're still kind of clogged. My nose is still a little runny. Let's just jump right into welding so I can stop talking. Yep, let's just turn this off a second. All right, well, I wasn't wanting to talk a whole lot more, but as you saw, I'm almost out of welding gas, and it might not be delivering enough flow at that pressure, but it said, what, 500? Yeah, 500 PSI. Either that, or I got dirty joints here, but I just cleaned them with the wire wheel. This one's really bad. I'll get you in close. This is what porosity looks like. Someone might give me crap for welding downhill on this thicker stuff. This is 3/16. This is, yeah, these are 3/16 here, but these ends, I just want them linked and sealed. They're not carrying much load. The load is going through the top and bottom welds, and usually I'll adjust my welder a little colder than I did for an upside down weld, an overhead weld, but I did one over here and I liked how it was going, so I kept going. They're burned in there pretty well, but now I'm worried that either I'm not getting enough gas flow or there's something dirty in here. This one looks really bad. This touch-up that I did here looks terrible. It didn't even flow. The molten metal didn't even flow properly. These were just touch-ups where I had either an ugly weld or I ground into it too far and I wanted to just make it look a little nicer. I gotta get my grinder out. I gotta clean these welds out and re-weld them. Actually, this is, if I grind this out and weld this, it's gonna be the third time this one was welded, and I don't remember the exact reason I ground this weld out. I'm wondering if there was some contamination under there that's still coming out with the heat. I hope not, because it's just gonna be a pain in the butt. I'm gonna end up cutting it way back and replacing metal or something, but grind that junk out, grind that junk out. I got one little pinhole right here. The overhead welds they're okay. Yeah, nothing spectacular. Need more practice. now as I'm grinding out welds and re-welding them and still not happy with some of them and feel like I need to grind them out again, I stopped to think about how much weld there is in this thing. There's a lot. I really don't think this is ever going to come apart. This cross member has two plates here. Like this is a continuous plate here. It's vertical welded to the side plates here. Then I boxed it in with 1/8 inch plate, and it's a piece of 1/8 inch here. So it's welded behind there. It's welded to these plates. Plates are welded to the frame. This top hat is welded inside and outside. Same on this side. Of course, you can see that I don't have my boxing plates in, and that's because every time I do a video, I'm always on this side. So this side is farther ahead than this side. So we might just do a little skip forward here. After this is all cleaned up, all my boxing is done, all my welds are what I think they should be. They're all dressed nicely, ready for paint. And I feel good about everything going on here. This is holding the engine in place. This is holding the front suspension in place. It's holding all of your braking forces. It's holding all of the bounce forces in the front. It's just, it's everything. So they're a little rough, but I'm just going to keep working on them until I get them where they need to be. That turned out better. That turned out better. Wait, which one? I fixed this one and that one. I don't know what was going on with the gas. I did clean out the nozzle. There was a few dingleberries in there. Maybe it was obstructing the gas flow. We're still at, yeah, it's right around the 500 mark on that tank. So I think we're okay for now on gas, but we just have to keep an eye on that. Welding upside down, welding overhead. Get a lot of garbage built up in there, even when you have, you know, a dip or a spray to keep the spatter from sticking. It can still kind of sit there and doesn't really stick. Now I see my nozzle is a little crooked. Maybe gas isn't flowing around the outside. Maybe I need a new nozzle. Maybe I just need to take it all apart and clean it. It'd be really cool to have a new gun for this, but I think that's kind of I'd rather get a TIG welder in the shop before I really upgrade my MIG welder. So let's move on. Next time you see me, probably be showing off all the finished stuff. Maybe? You have to watch and find out. Give me a moment. Ah! Oh, it's not quite. Oh, my shoe is caught. Dang it. Oh. Good thing about this frame stand or chassis stand, I can crawl under the car. Bad thing is I have to crawl under the car. Oh, wow. Well, it's already been a week since that last clip, and I've kind of forgotten where I left off. So let's take a look and see what I got done here. So I got my vertical welds done, at least on the right side. I realized that, if you remember, I had to put a filler in here because there was a gap that was a little too big. I did not make a filler for that side. So I got to make one of those. Otherwise, that side's welded in. This side's welded in completely. Got a little bit of cleanup to do. Some spatter, which tells me I didn't have my wire speed quite perfect. There's a lot of, I don't know, you can't really hear how rough that is, but that's like sandpaper all up and down this plate here. So I'm gonna get in here, clean that up. Otherwise, these look pretty good. I came in here and ground out some pinholes and welded them up. And of course, this big notch I took out for the spring. Now, that notch, I thought it'd be interesting to see how well all that's welded together. And you can see I split it open with a chisel, and it did fuse on the ends. I would have liked a little more. See, that's a thin weld there in the end. Because I should probably show this on the other side with the light. But there's 3 pieces of metal there. There's 2, actually there's a lot of pieces of metal. This is the plate I added to this side. This edge here you can see is the original side here of the frame from Ford. This one is the piece that goes down, across, down the other side. I think it wrapped under. So basically over here, we had the original Ford piece here, this piece, and this one is the original Ford piece that wrapped around from the other side. And then this bottom one, which is this here, I welded on. I added this bottom strip. So the 2 Ford pieces it's a pinch weld. It's all spot welded all the way down along there. I added this bottom plate, welded it in. It's like a washer. If you use nuts and bolts with washers, you're spreading the load out over a bigger area, so you're not tearing through the metal with a small fastener. That's kind of what we're doing here. We took this big piece and we're treating it like a giant washer all the way down there, which I think, yeah, I got. There's pinholes there. There's some boogers here, pinholes here. Wherever this joint is, whatever's between the layers that's been there forever since the 60s, makes welding that really tough, which is probably why I didn't have that much penetration here. If I had a TIG welder, I would have been able to fuse weld this whole edge a lot better. But with how dirty it is, I don't know that it would have welded very well, because TIG welding likes to have a nice clean joint. One more thing about these vertical welds, I was not confident that those were going to turn out well without some practice. So I did some practice pieces. I took some 1/8 inch and some 3/16 and welded it vertical up, and then put them in a vise, bent them over, and nothing cracked. This one is, I think this is the first one I did. Yeah, this is the first one I did. And I was traveling too fast with every zigzag going up. And it still held. Like there's no cracks. That thing is pretty solid on there. So that one was a little better. And then I had another set like this that I did, and they turned out good too. I couldn't break them apart. I couldn't smash them and break the welds apart. So I think we're good there. Let's see. You saw that I was putting in these little filler pieces here, and I got some done on this side too. Those fillers aren't perfect, but they don't really need to be. It's more filler. I just don't like the look of the top mount with an open bottom and the cross member coming down. I just like, it was a lot more of a finished look, and I just like it better. So that's all 1/8 inch material. I'll get that welded up hopefully today, and smooth out the welds so they're not sticking out. I tried to bevel every piece so I can get good penetration between them. What else do we need to do over there? We're getting wrapped up on this whole front end, at least for the cross member and the spring mounts. The next thing I need to do is I need to get my steering rack. So we're gonna see if we can get that ordered. And then I need to figure out this strut rod situation. So this is the strut rod. And of course I don't have a control arm in here, but so this lower control arm comes out, and you can see it's got a single pivot here and that bar there with 2 holes in it. So all your braking force that goes into this lower arm, if you're only using that to counteract your braking force, this whole arm is just going to pivot in the frame. Which is why you see a lot of these kits with wide lower A arms. So this arm here is going to sit in this pocket. It's going to come out. And then this is the strut rod that comes with those arms. And it bolts onto that arm. And then it comes out here in line with the holes for the lower mount, or the holes for the lower arm. And this pivots with the arm. It basically turns it into a giant A arm. Let me back up here. There we go. Basically turns into a giant A arm. So now I need mounts to hold that. These are the mounts. Actually, that's the shape. There's the mount. That was originally the spring mounts. I was going to try and reuse them, cut them to fit the frame, but I don't think it's going to work well. Yeah, okay, I can cut that off. I can get it in line, but that open square, that real square corner, that really open square corner, if it's welded on the inside, pretend this is our frame rail, the braking forces are going to put a lot of stress right there in that sharp corner, which is not what you want. You want a nice radius. So I don't think these are going to work well enough to try and reuse them. Maybe we'll use them for something else. We'll cut them off and use them for shock mounts in the rear or something. I don't know. But I got 4 of those, and I'd hate to waste them. So we got to figure out something here. I have a feeling I'm just going to end up making my own. Maybe we can just copy this shape as it goes up on the side of the frame rail, comes down. So I need to get my steering rack put in here and see where it sits and make sure I have enough clearance. I'm pretty sure this is going to clear because it should come up. Now I'm looking at it now. Man, I don't know. We're going to have to get that rack in here and find out. We're going to piece all this together and see how close it's going to be. Yeah, I better do that before, because I don't have to use this. And I kind of don't like it because it's a big, heavy, chunky piece of steel. It'd be nice if it was a tube. And I think those are just regular rubber bushings in there. There's a number on there. Maybe I can go look it up. I think there's rubber. And there's tiny cracks. Can you see that? Anyway, there's tiny cracks around the inside of that bushing, right where the steel sleeve is. So I might just press those out and put polyurethane in there. Or I'm just not going to use this at all. I'm just going to copy the idea. I just need a mount out here somewhere. And it's got to link back to the lower arm. That's it. We'll figure that out in the future. So that's kind of where we're at for the moment. I'm going to get welding on this. Next time, I hope to have a steering rack, and I hope to have a plan for the strut rod mounts and the strut rods themselves. What else am I missing? I feel like I'm missing something important on this front end. I know we got to fit a sway bar in there. So it's going to be a tight fit with all that stuff in. The other reason I wanted to get the steering rack I have an oil pan for my engine that I need to install on it. And I need to get that engine lowered in here and get an eyeball estimate on where it's going to sit and how much room we actually have. Because I've seen a lot of these conversions where the front of the oil pan or the balancer or something like that runs into the steering rack. So now they got fitment issues. They got to move their engine, out of its ideal spot, modify the rack or spacers on the rack or something. So hope we can avoid that. That's one reason why I got the 2-inch drop spindles, is so we could put the cross member lower in the frame. So I'm hoping we have lots of room. But anyway, I think that's going to wrap it up. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.